My name's Tony Newman. I'm the principal here. So my background is I came from Durant, Iowa, small town between Davenport and Iowa City. I was born and raised there, and that's where I actually worked. So I went to school there, and I started coaching there right out of high school. And then when I graduated from St. Ambrose, I got a job there teaching junior high math. So I did that for 7 years, 3 years. Then I taught at the high school, and then I became the principal for the 5 years before I came here. I get here pretty early in the morning, and I just send out that quote of the day. And then I just kind of get some things ready for the day, and then I try to get to as many classrooms as I can. If something comes up I need to deal with, then I come here. If I have a meeting, I go. But otherwise, I try to spend as much time in the classroom as I can. There's more kids here, but a lot of the same problems, some new problems. But I mean, the teachers have been great, and the kids have been great, and the community's been great. So it's been really smooth and easy. I think the hardest part is just not knowing the kids and the community. The teachers I pretty well knew coming in by name and face and what they taught, but just learning about them has been fun. It was just frustrating not knowing, like I'm used to knowing, okay, this class, this is how they teach, this is how they do it, and this is where they're at in the year. But it's one of the reasons why I'm going into so many classrooms as I can. And I think the easiest part's just been working with the students. I mean, the students have been great.
I'm from Iowa Falls. I grew up here. My parents moved here when I was 3 years old, so it's home for me. After I graduated from Iowa Falls Alden in 2009, I went to Briarcliff University and played college basketball there. Changed my major a few times, but I kind of always knew education was where I wanted to be. So I graduated from there with my degree in English and secondary education. And then I moved to Seattle, Washington for a little bit. Always wanted to live in a big city. Grew up in Iowa Falls, so I wanted to live in a big city. And after living there, I kept missing home. So I decided to move back to Iowa with my now fiance. And last year we were living in Iowa City. I was teaching in the Durant Community School District for my first year of teaching English. And we moved back this summer and couldn't be happier to be back home. Well, I teach English too, and that's American literature. So right now, we're kind of focusing on some of the nonfiction, some of the stuff that our country was really built on. While sometimes it can feel a little bit like a history class, it's really important for these kids to understand some of the main ideas and big ideas that our founding fathers had, and a lot of that is demonstrated through the literature of the time period. The kids have had an unbelievable positive energy. It's been a smooth transition for me because the kids have been working really hard, and the entire staff and faculty and district have been so helpful for me getting reacclimated to the school after being gone from it for about 7 years. It's been really easy to come back, and so for me, it was always fun to be in English classes because I love to read the different material and I love to write my thoughts down on a page. And I think that's one thing I really like about it is I get to help kids do that now, and for me it's the perfect job. It's something I love to do every day. We get to have a lot of discussion. I get to encourage kids to talk in class about what we're talking about, which I know sometimes they don't get to do. So for me, it's just so much fun coming to work every day.
I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is a larger town than Iowa Falls, but I kind of like the change of pace. It's kind of nice moving here. I went to Kennedy High School and then went on to Iowa State and studied biology. And then when I finished my bachelor's degree, I went back and got my master's to teach science. Then I went and I taught at Christ the King, which is a small private school in Des Moines. And that was really great, but then my husband got transferred here to Iowa Falls, working for the ethanol plant in town. So that's how I came here, and everything kind of just aligned. I like to use the textbook as a guide rather than something for the students to work directly out of. It's a nice resource for me when planning lessons, and I like to do more hands-on investigations, maybe pose a question for students, have them experience something, and then draw the knowledge out of that. Lately we've been working on these creature investigations, and they don't know what's inside of this creature, but I've demonstrated how it operates by pulling different ropes. And the idea is that they will make observations and then eventually make a model and test their ideas of what's happening inside. So that way it demonstrates to them that we can observe the same thing but come to a different conclusion and go about solving the problem in a different way. And of course I try to be really great at what I'm doing but I'm always learning from my students. I'm learning how to be better. And that's what I really like, is the learning part for me, selfishly. From them, they teach me so much. But then also just being able to pour into them. My impressions of this school have been really great. Everyone's very welcoming. They've come down to my room and asked me how things are going, or just kind of feeling welcome is the general perception that I get just moving here and being new. And the students are great too. I love getting to know them. That's probably the biggest reason why I went into teaching, is just the students and learning from them. So it's been a really great transition, and I'm glad to be here.
I moved to Iowa Falls in August of 1975, and I was hired as a special ed teacher. I worked at Central School and then up at Rock Run. I taught elementary special education for 35 years. And through those years, it was kindergarten through grade 5, different grades each year. Then I retired in 2010. My husband and I both retired that year. And after I retired, I wanted to do something different. So I substitute taught in many different classrooms. A lot of my time, the past 6 years, was at the high school. And I found out that I really liked working at the high school and with high school students. And after 6 years, I took on a new position, and I'm half-time at the high school as the student success coach. Working with students sometimes who had behavior problems or attendance issues, I think, has probably helped prepare me for this job. The position actually is to deal with attendance and behavior concerns so that students are successful at our high school. Day to day, it's different every day. Working with students and working with teachers, my role varies from day to day, from hour to hour sometimes. This year, high school teachers will be given some fidgets if they need those in their classroom. There is research. I have research articles that I have read that say, yes, it's okay, yes, it does help students. Many times, adults doodle. They play with things that are in front of them. It's the same thing. To mess with these, to use these, relieve stress at times. It'll be a very busy year. The students are working very hard. The teachers, they're a very hard-working group. It's exciting having a new principal in the building, a couple new teachers in the building. I think we're off to a great start this year.